it's dead and that it has no soul, and it starts to make you act like a zombie. Yikes. So while we're talking about zombies, I thought I would go ahead and mention this fact to you. Back in the day, there was a serial killer named Jeffrey Dahmer, and what he would do with his victims is he would try to make sex zombies out of them by drilling holes in their head and pouring acid down the hole. There were over 15 dead bodies found in Benjamin Franklin's basement. Is there something the history books aren't telling us? I didn't even want to say this one because it kind of freaked me out too, but if you get bruises a lot, it could be signs of a spirit trying to contact you.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, man, and hitting that like button on each and every video. I really appreciate it. You guys don't know how much you guys are helping us out just by doing those 3 simple steps. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, man. Let's seek the truth.
Talking about the World Cup, let's talk about how this soccer player was murdered after he lost the game. On June 22nd, 1994, Andres Escobar, who was the captain of Colombia's soccer team, was playing against the US and scored in his own net during the World Cup. Colombia ended up losing the game 2-1 and was eliminated. 10 days later, Andres was confronted by a group of men outside a club in the city of Medellin. These men began harassing Andres and making fun of him for shooting in his own net, and even though he tried to reason with them, they shot him 6 times. The next day, police arrested Humberto Castro Munoz, who was associated with powerful criminals and drug traffickers. It's been said that the criminals that Humberto was working with were betting a lot of money on Colombia to win, and when they lost because of Andres' mistake, then they ordered Humberto to murder him. Humberto was sentenced to 43 years in prison, but only served 11 years before being released for good behavior. More than 120,000 people attended Andres' funeral, and Colombia created a statue of him in 2002.
Over some money, bro? Over a soccer game as well?
This boy was forced to live as a girl. In 1965, twin boys were born, and they went by the name of Bruce and Brian, and they were born in Winnipeg, Canada. By 8 months old, the boys ended up getting a condition, and the only way to fix it was to get a circumcision done, and in the end, Bruce was the only one who got it done. Unfortunately, Bruce got a botched circumcision, which burned off his whole private part. The family was referred to Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore to speak with a Dr. John Money, and he recommended a surgical sex change from male to female. Bruce's parents agreed to the procedure, thinking that this was the best option. The procedure was successful, and instead of Bruce, now their name was Brenda. By the age of 2, Brenda would rip off her dresses, refuse to play with dolls, and just wanted to play with toy cars and guns. Brenda complained to her parents and teachers that she felt like a boy, and they just told her that she was going through a phase. At the age of 14, a local psychiatrist told Brenda's parents that they just needed to tell Brenda the truth, and once they did, Brenda just felt like everything finally made sense. Brenda embarked on the painful process to go back to a male, and once all that was done, Brenda was now David. Although David was able to be a boy again, he was traumatized from his past when he would go to annual doctor visits with his twin brother, and Dr. John Money would make them do sexual acts on each other, and he would take photos of them. Although they both resisted doing these activities, Dr. John Money would get very angry with them, and they were honestly very scared of him. Dr. John Money claimed that this was important for healthy adult gender identity. Unfortunately, due to the traumatizing childhood, David's brother ended up taking his life in 2002, and just 2 years later, David ended up taking his own life as well.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 17. There's an 8-year-old boy named Amarjit Sada who became the world's youngest serial killer after murdering his 6-year-old cousin, his baby sister, and a neighbor's newborn daughter. The CIA has a legitimate heart attack gun, and it was exposed to the public in the late 1970s. Project Sunshine was research conducted by the US government in which, after the atomic bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a network of agents was recruited to locate recently deceased children and steal their body parts for testing on radiation.
Both the US and Russia use dolphins and whales to spy on various countries. The FBI sent an anonymous letter to Martin Luther King Jr. telling him to kill himself. It reads, "King, there is only one thing left for you to do." You know what it is. Guys, I just released my first YouTube video. I'm sure you'll love it. Link in bio.
That's crazy. I never knew that last part, especially concerning Dr. Martin Luther King, man. Goes to show you how sometimes how corrupt our nation is. And use whales and dolphins to spy on other countries, USA and Russia. What the hell? They train the animals to be capable of that? Got eyes and ears everywhere.
Worst plane crash ever recorded.
That's an edit. We knew how to call those out, seekers. He literally caught it at the end. Sad as well.
Never listen to this song if you're in the Philippines. It's called My Way by Frank Sinatra. If you listen to this song in the Philippines, you might literally die. It's so cursed that it has its own crime class there. It has been even banned in karaoke bars. It used to incite people at bars and led to a large amount of killings. But won't you listen to it?
No, not hearing knowing that information.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 12. I guess you could start saying that zombies are real, and the reason I say that is because there is a sickness called walking corpse syndrome, in which the brain starts to believe that it's dead and that it has no soul, and it starts to make you act like a zombie. Yikes. So while we're talking about zombies, I thought I would go ahead and mention this fact to you. Back in the day, there was a serial killer named Jeffrey Dahmer, and what he would do with his victims is he would try to make sex zombies out of them by drilling holes in their head and pouring acid down the hole. There were over 15 dead bodies found in Benjamin Franklin's basement. Is there something the history books aren't telling us? I didn't even want to say this one because it kind of freaked me out too, but if you get bruises a lot, it could be signs of a spirit trying to contact you, as well as a lot of other ways. A man was once being held at gunpoint on a video on the dark web and was forced to eat his wife's organs or he would have died.
Here is how you can survive a piranha attack. Let's say that you find yourself in the Amazon River surrounded by piranhas. What you should do is first of all stay as still as possible and don't make any kind of noise. Don't even scream for help, because they locate their prey with their excellent hearing. Now start moving really slow towards deeper water, where it's colder and the currents are stronger, so there won't be any piranhas there. But you may find a crocodile. But hey, now you know how to survive a piranha attack.
Would you guys take that advice, man? For the piranha attacks?
Why you should never do this. This is 17-year-old Michael Dumas. He was on a church trip to Florida with some of his friends. While on this trip, they went to Pompano Beach, and he would be buried in the sand as you see here. He'd soon be unburied and all would be well until later that night when he would wake up in the middle of the night and be itching like crazy and sweating. At first, this would be labeled as an ear infection and he would be sent home with drops, but it would soon be obvious that that's not what it was, as he started to develop these raised bumpy rashes. And he became pretty lethargic, just wanting to sleep all the time. It got even worse to the point where he was having these big nasty blisters. And that's when you finally be diagnosed with cutaneous larva migrans, which is pretty much dog or cat hookworm. So pretty much these work by the dog or the cat pooping in the sand and contaminating it, and then not long after, these microscopic larvae hatch, and then you step in this contaminated sand and you end up looking like Michael. After all of this, he ended up developing a staph infection as well. And if it's not bad enough just him getting infected, 5 others from this trip got infected with hookworm as well.
Okay, because that...
Shoot, I'm never probably about to go walk on the beach again, man. Not with my freaking bare foot. Goes to show you, you never knew. I didn't even know something like that was possible, man. People bring their pets on the beach and letting them pee and poop and not cleaning it up. I like what it caused. Wearing socks from now on the beach.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw the video. Like, I've met goats before, okay? Their eyes are hella creepy and they look like this. Now tell me what the hell that is. And that's why many people believe that this is actually a skinwalker trying to enter the girl's home. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then watch my latest video. It's staring into my soul.
It is. I'm about to say skinwalker. I was just about to say that. We've seen that a couple of times watching these clips together, man. So that was my logical guess. Let's just go. Edit. Twin paradox theory.
Let me get a pair of twins. All right? They're born the same time, they're the same age. And now one of them I will send off at 90% the speed of light. And the other I'll keep down here on Earth. So we can ask, how does their aging rates compare? Okay? Turns out, this twin that I've already sent, his clock ticks 44% as fast as this twin's clock. Our clock, here on Earth. So, this twin is aging more slowly than this one. That's at 90% the speed of light. Let's pump it up some more. How about 99% the speed of light? Now the time ticks at only 14% the rate, as it does back here on Earth. How about 99.9%?
Keep pushing
We're getting
it.
closer and closer to the speed of light itself. And at that speed, the clock ticks only 4.5% as fast.
Slower.
So, what does this mean? Tell you what it means. This twin that traveled for 5 years and comes back, if they went at 99.9% the speed of light, after 5 years, they're 5 years older. We have aged 110 years.
Damn.
It's called the twin paradox.
These are videos you can never watch at night. We all know how there's some videos where you just can't watch them at night because they're that scary. Well, in this series, I'll be showing you all of those videos. So, be ready to get terrified.
Bring it on.
Who are you? Huh? What? What's wrong with you?
The hell?
What?
Well, I know I'm not sleeping after watching that video. This video has been going viral recently and nobody knows the origins of it. It shows what appears to be a ghostly woman standing outside of some man's window at night. And she says something took her daughter and did this to her. But nobody knows what that is. The man who uploaded the video hasn't updated anybody on if he's seen her again, or if he's okay, leaving people to worry about him. But I can't imagine looking out my window at night and seeing this.
Let's talk about this picture. This is why if I ever have kids, I'll never let them use the bathroom alone. A 7-year-old girl and her mom were headed to Target, and she was getting some clothes for school. Her mom also wanted to grab some snacks for movie night. So while her mom went to go grab popcorn and other snacks, she told her daughter to go pick out clothes for school. When her daughter finally finished and picked out the clothes, she went up to her mom and said something strange happened. A sad pale lady had came up to her, telling her that she wished she could have her own daughter that looked just like her. The mom, who thought the daughter was just joking around, laughed it off and said, "Let's go." While heading to the register, the daughter shook her mom and said, "That's the lady who told me she wanted a daughter just like me," pointing at a mannequin. The mom laughed, thinking the daughter was still being silly. You know how kids have wild imaginations, always playing around. While at the register, the daughter had to go to the bathroom. So the mom told her to hurry up. It was only a couple hours down, by the way. While in the bathroom, the daughter texted the mom saying the pale lady's in here who wanted a daughter. The mom, trying to get in a rush back home to her other kids, said, "Hurry up, we have to go. Stop playing around." 10 minutes later, and the daughter never came out. The mother, who was waiting outside the bathroom at this time, rushes in the bathroom to see what the heck is going on. The daughter was nowhere to be found. She even checked the stalls to see if her daughter was hiding, standing on a toilet or something. On one of the stalls, she found her daughter's cell phone on the floor. By the way, if you made it this far in the video, comment down below your favorite fruit. Mine is mangoes. When she checked her phone, this was the last image found in it. Police still to this day have no explanation on what happened to that little girl.
Like what your kids say, man. You might think they have a wide imagination.
These two sisters had a competition to see who could get their dad to sleep with them first. Yeah, you did hear that right. This brings us to Travis Field Grove and his 17-year-old daughter, Samantha Kirshner. So in 2018, Samantha would express interest to her mom that she wanted to meet her dad, as she had always longed for him to be in her life. and they'd start to grow closer, and she'd also form a close relationship with her half-sister in the process. So at this time, her half-sister and Samantha are fighting for her dad's attention, and they come up with this competition to see who can get the dad to sleep with him first. It really wouldn't take that long, because in September of 2018, Samantha and her dad would sleep together for the first time, and then a month later, they'd get married. The mom had no idea what was going on, but she soon gets a clue and contacts the police, where Sam is brought in and confesses that her and her dad have been getting it on, and she says that both her and her dad didn't believe that they were actually related. Police are quick to say, why would you do this, since there's a possibility that you all are related, and she says the jealousy of fighting for attention just got to her, and she just wanted to win this competition. A DNA test would take place, and he was the father, and they'd both be arrested in 2019. Travis would get 2 years in prison, and Sam would get 9 months probation and 22 days in jail. Travis is now out of jail in order to have no contact with Samantha, and he says that his life after jail is going great.
I'm going great. Do you know what you just did? You damn sicko. What the heck? This world, man. Edit. Call it like we see it, man.
What are you doing? Keep driving. No, it's not. Stop. Come on, man. I got a family. What are you doing? I got a family too. Now drive. What are you doing? Please stop. I have 4 kids. What are you doing?
What you just saw were some of the final moments of Uber driver Christy Spicuzza's life. This is an extremely sad and horrific story. Christy Spicuzza was a mother from Pennsylvania who worked for Uber. She had a loving family, and on the night of February 10th, 2022, she was expecting to just work her normal shift on Uber. But on that tragic night, Christy picked up this man, Calvin Crew. Now, Christy had a dash cam video camera which was facing her and her passengers. And for the first 20 minutes or so of this ride, Calvin just sat in the back seat, not saying anything, and Christy even tried to ask him questions like, did you have a good day? How's it going? But at one point, Calvin pulls out a pistol, places it against Christy's skull, and informs her that she needs to drive. Now, Christy would continue to drive, and she begged the man in the back seat for her life, talking about her amazing children and her family and how it doesn't have to go like this, but it seems like Calvin's mind was already decided. And just 2 days later, Christy's car and her dead body were found in a neighboring area. Calvin had forced Christy to drive out to an isolated wooded area and murdered her out in the woods. After the murder, Calvin had used Christy's cell phone to access some of her financial apps like Cash App and sent himself some money, but it wasn't even a very large sum of money that this man stole. Calvin's girlfriend, Tanaya Mullen, was actually the one who called the Uber for her boyfriend that night. And she had even texted him that evening and said, I'm not going to jail if we get caught. Which is true because she never ended up going to jail or prison for her involvement in this horrifically sad crime.
What?
This is just such a tragic story that obviously did not need to happen, and that footage is some of the most horrifying that I've ever seen.
A 14-year-old boy.
Man, see, people who driving Lyft or Uber, bro, they really taking a risk out here nowadays, because you know how the world is crazy. So if you're driving Lyft or Uber, man, you just always have to be prepared. I'm skeptical about getting in those rides myself.
Boy named Sebastian Guerrero decided to go for a walk up in the mountains, and he wanted to go explore the different caves. There was light coming out of one of the cave entrances, and he's starting to hear sounds. He realizes it's definitely a person, and they're definitely screaming. There also sounds to be a large contingent of other people, and he peeks his head right around the edge of the opening, and he looks inside, and what he sees causes him to just freeze in terror. He would run nearly 10 miles to the nearest police station. The way he described it to police was he basically thought he saw vampires. One of the police officers, his name was Luis Martinez, he would say, okay kid, bring me to this cave and I'll have a look around. Later on in the day, the other police officers, they realized that Luis and the boy had not returned yet. The police and the Mexican army, they head out to where this cave was, and when they saw what was inside the cave, it would shock the world.
What was it? Damn it! They always do that, man.
This is the scariest story about the lunch lady. There was a lunch lady named Judy, and everybody in school loved her. But they loved her food even more. Every single day, they would rush to the lunchroom just to eat her delicious food. But one day, a boy in 7th grade noticed something strange. In the back of the kitchen, he saw a mysterious door he'd never seen before. And he's been buying lunch for a year straight. He then went to the principal's office and told him what he saw. The principal then made his way down to the lunchroom and asked Judy about the door. She played dumb for a little bit, but eventually showed him. And what he saw inside made him freeze in horror. Inside were multiple children's dead bodies, completely cut up and strung up on the wall. Judy then looked at the principal with a smile on her face and said, "How do you think my food tastes so good? This is the reason why." Judy was arrested and fired, and is now serving 105 years in prison. But the crazy part is, how did this school allow a lunch lady to kill students and then sell their meat as lunch food?
Yeah, no idea what was going on. We're gonna have to do a deep dive into that story. That's a chilling story, man.
People who live streamed their passings, part 1. Here we have 19-year-old Ocean, who was from France, and she worked at a retirement home. On May 10th, 2016, she would go live on what would be her last Periscope of her life. She'd start this live in her apartment, talking about how depressed she was, and how she couldn't really find the energy to get out of bed. She'd also go on to talk about her ex, and how bad of a person he was, and how that he had abused her. Even with all this, she'd be picked on and made fun of in the comments throughout the whole live. During this live, she would warn her younger viewers and tell them to sign off, as she has something very big planned as her way to send a message, but like I said, nobody was really taking her too seriously. Eventually, she'd end up leaving her apartment and heading over to Egley train station, where she would sadly throw herself right into a train, and this train would hit her, and unfortunately, she would not survive. This would all be captured on live, and the next thing you'd see would be one of the first responders attempting to end the live stream, and he would actually do that at around 4:30.
Interview with People magazine, Gypsy Rose and her husband Ryan Anderson are sharing their love story. The couple got married in a prison ceremony in July 2022, but up until this point we hadn't really known the details of how they met. But shortly before she was released, both Gypsy and Ryan spoke with People magazine and shared some more details of their love story. Ryan Anderson is a 37-year-old special education teacher originally from Gypsy's home state of Louisiana. He told People that they first met back in 2020 when he decided to take a chance and write to her. He said, "It was when Tiger King was really popular. My coworker at the time said, 'I want to write to Tiger King.' And I said, 'I'll tell you what, if you write to him, I'll write to Gypsy Rose Blanchard.'" In that first letter, Ryan told Gypsy, quote, "what her story meant to me, and on the second page, I just let her have it. I told her everything about me." He didn't expect to hear back, but by May 2020, the two were corresponding regularly. Ryan said that he would get butterflies when he got an email from Gypsy, and when the two spoke on the phone for the first time and he heard her voice, that all but sealed the deal for him. Gypsy was also falling in love as Ryan, quote, became her emotional backbone. She said that they met when the pandemic was really strong and she had a lot of emotional ups and downs because of it. She said, "Ryan has seen me through some really good times, some really hard times. I would say that he is probably the most compassionate soul that I've ever met and the most patient." She said, "I could be a lot to handle. I could be an emotional handful, but he is so patient with her." Because of restrictions thanks to the pandemic, they didn't meet in person until July 2021. But they continued to get closer, and according to the interview with People, Ryan became so in tune with Gypsy's emotions that he could tell how she was feeling as soon as she picked up the phone. Gypsy said, "We've been able to build this emotional bond that within 2 seconds of talking on the phone, he knows my emotions." She said, "I'm thankful that I have a man that is open enough with his own emotions so I could let my emotions flow." On July 21st, 2022, Gypsy and Ryan got married in a prison ceremony. And today, December 28th, 2023, he was the one to pick her up when she was released. Gypsy also mentioned in the interview with People that she wants kids one day. She said, "It's hard because I'm going into a new life and I'm newly married and I'm going to have kids one day and I'm going to have to explain to my kids why their grandmother on mommy's side isn't around. And that's going to be a really hard conversation." But by all accounts, it seems like Gypsy is really happy with Ryan and that he has been there supporting her through a lot. So hopefully he will be continuing to support her as she adjusts to her new life.
We all know how that ended. Didn't she like break up with him? They got divorced and she went back to his ex, so it ain't did too well for her ex, her other ex. Damn.
Scary story about the peephole. A 15-year-old girl named Donna lived with her father in a very small house. Ever since her mother died, Donna had depended on her dad for everything. One morning, Donna's father was leaving for a business trip. He then told her that he won't be back until later that night. And with that, he kissed Donna on the forehead and left. Later that day, when Donna came home from school, she did some homework and watched TV. The clock then struck midnight, and she noticed her father still wasn't back, so she decided to go to bed. That night, Donna had a dream. She found herself standing on the edge of a busy highway. She then looked across the highway and saw a familiar figure standing there. It was her father, and his hands were cupped around his mouth trying to yell something. But Donna couldn't make out what he was saying. She noticed her father's eyes were very sad, and he seemed to be desperately trying to communicate with her. She could barely make out the words he was saying, but it sounded like "don't open the door." Suddenly, Donna woke up to a tapping noise. Then somebody rang the doorbell. Donna then scrambled out of bed, got dressed, and ran down to the front door. Looking through the peephole, she saw her father's face outside. He was staring right at her, and the doorbell was still ringing. "Okay, hold on, I'm coming," she shouted. She pulled back the deadbolt and was about to unlatch the door when she stopped. She then looked through the peephole again, and she noticed there was something off about her father's expression. His eyes were wide open, and he looked terrified. She then slid the deadbolt back into place. "Dad, did you forget your keys?" Donna yelled. The doorbell just kept ringing. "Dad, answer me." Still, the doorbell continued to ring. "Dad, please, I need you to answer me. Is there someone else out there with you?" Still, the doorknob continued to ring. She then yelled at the top of her lungs, "I'm not opening the door until you answer me." The doorbell kept ringing and ringing, but for some reason, her father refused to answer her desperate cries. For the rest of the night, Donna sat in the corner next to the door, crying and helplessly listening to the doorbell ringing over and over again. She then eventually fell asleep. In the morning when she woke up, she noticed it was very quiet. She then got up and went over to the peephole and looked inside. Her father was still there, just staring at her. She then cautiously opened the door and was confronted with a sight that filled her with unimaginable horror. Her father's severed head was hanging from a nail above the door, and there was a note attached to the doorbell. In weird sloppy handwriting, it read, "Clever girl."
So she ain't fall for the trick. She had a dream, I guess before it happened, telling her not to open the door, and she followed her gut. It said clever girl then, so she was the target all along? Crazy. I wonder if there's more to that story. We're going to have to try to search up and find those clips. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker, man. Seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Like I said, guys, hit that like button, subscribe, follow me on my social medias down below, man. Like I said, we're grinding, man. We're doing these daily uploads. Like I said, maybe next month we're probably gonna switch it up, but thank you guys. So stick with me, joining me on my journey. I have really truly believe we can grow the Seekers into something special. I just need you guys' help by supporting these videos. Guys, I'm catching the next one, man. I'm out. Appreciate you too. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, man. From YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, man. Anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping in with the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. You're helping us push us in the algorithm, man, so we can reach other peoples, man. We can reach other seekers who's seeking this type of content. So I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best. Let's seek the truth.
This is why you should always change your locks. In 2017, a college girl woke up from a nightmare drenched in sweat and decided to rinse off before going back to sleep. She propped her phone on a shelf, turned on some music, and then hopped in the shower. A few minutes later, she reaches for her phone to change the song, but stops suddenly. Reflected on her phone's screen was a person standing in the middle of her bathroom facing the shower. She somehow kept her composure, turned the water to scalding hot, and then ripped open the curtain and sprayed the intruder in the face. As they howled in pain, she ran past them to her kitchen to get her butcher's knife. In a panic, she can't find her knife, so she just runs out of the apartment and calls the police. The police go in and come out with a crazy-looking woman in handcuffs. One of the officers comes over to the girl and says she used to live here and she had copies of your keys. Then he pauses and looks down and brings up a clear evidence bag that contained her butcher's knife, and he says, "Looks like she wanted her apartment back." There's something terrible.
What? So she wanted her apartment back, and because she had a copy of the key, she just went in there unannounced. Can somebody even do something like that, Seekers? Is that even legal? I don't think so, right? People are crazy in this world now. That's insane.
Terrifying going on at Chuck E. Cheese right now, and I'm going to explain it to you. So we all know about the game Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It's a game based around a restaurant that's pretty much like a Chuck E. Cheese, where the animatronics come to life and wreak havoc on all the guests there. But what if I told you this was possibly happening in real life right now?
No way.
Just 2 days ago, 5 children have gone missing inside of a Chuck E. Cheese, and the parents reported a weird smell from the inside of the building. And then just like Five Nights at Freddy's, someone that worked the late night shift actually got killed after hours. Now these are all pretty weird, but here's the kicker right here. Check out this headline. Night shift workers from Chuck E. Cheese claim strange movement from animatronics post hours. So I don't know, what do you think about this? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's fake? And I mean, with 2020 and everything going on, like, I wouldn't be shocked if it was real.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 1. When creating the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, they couldn't create skeletons that looked realistic enough, so they used real human skeletons. Since then, they've removed all but one. Ducks sometimes become cannibals due to boredom, meaning they kill and eat each other. This behavior begins as early as 4 weeks old. Crocodiles are capable of galloping, similar to a horse. Luckily, alligators cannot. And while we're at it, tarantulas can swim. It's extremely common after you die that there will be extreme gas buildup and you will burp after death. And sometimes dead bodies can even sit up on their own. Also, if a pregnant woman dies, the gas buildup in her body can actually forcefully push a baby out. In other words, a post-mortem baby bazooka. Hearing is the last bodily function to go after one dies. So it's very possible that the last thing you ever hear is the paramedic calling off your CPR.
This is why you shouldn't.
Those are some crazy facts we learn, Seekers, man. That's where you gotta tap in with us, man. I never in a million years would ever guess, man, that tarantulas can swim and freaking, he said the alligators, they were galloping? What the hell? This is when they got an upgrade like that, man. I'm telling you, man, you tap in with us, Seekers, you gonna learn some new information, man, daily.
Never stay in sketchy motels. In 2005, a young woman on a solo road trip across the country decided to stop for the night. The first place she sees is the Mountaintop Motel. It looked pretty cheap, but she was tired, so she said good enough. The check-in guy eyed her up and down very uncomfortably and then asked her if she was traveling alone. She ignores the question, pays for her room, and then walks away with the key. When she gets inside her room and sees there are literally cockroaches in her bed, she says nope and decides to sleep in her car in the parking lot. Around 3 a.m., she wakes up to see the check-in guy using his own keys to get into the motel room she was supposed to be in. A few minutes later, he storms out and slams the door and starts walking towards her car. Terrified, she hides under her blanket as the man tries to open her car doors but can't and walks away. She speeds off and calls her friend and asks her to look up the address of Mountaintop Motel so she can give it to police. Her friend's quiet for a second and then just says, "The Mountaintop Motel closed a week ago. If someone offers you this, walk away." In 2016, a man was staying at his friend's cabin in the woods when he decided to go for an evening stroll. A little ways down the trail, he hears someone call out from behind his neighbor's house. He looks up and he sees this skinny guy pop out from behind the building who starts waving frantically at him to come over. Worried this guy could be in trouble, the man takes off running to assist, but when he gets close enough, the neighbor just offers him a fistful of Slim Jims and starts talking about how much he hates his wife. Sensing there was something wrong with this guy, he says no thank you to the Slim Jims and walks away. The next day, the man calls his friend who owned the cabin to ask him what the deal was with his weirdo neighbor. There was silence on the phone, and then his friend just says, "I don't have any neighbors." The police are called, and it turns out his neighbor was really some lunatic who had recently killed his wife and had been hiding out in the abandoned cabin next door. This is why...
That's why, man, my parents always say, don't talk to strangers. Like, he could have been the next. He could have been next, man. He didn't even know. He just offered him some Slim Jim talking about how he didn't like his wife. Like, the signs were there, man. You gotta pay attention to what people say nowadays, man, because every time somebody says something, bro, and if it sounds weird, Especially talking about how he hated his wife and just offered him Slim Jims. That's bizarre enough already. And you in the woods at that. He's a brave soul. I don't know how he did it. If I was in the woods, you see somebody you don't know, deuces, I'm out. You ain't getting me.
You always say yes to tandoori chicken. In 2012, a high school tutor and her student stayed up so late one night studying that by the time they were done, the buses had stopped running. Without another way home, the student asked if he could stay the night at her place. Reluctantly, she agreed. When they got back to the apartment, she fell asleep on her bed and he fell asleep on a blanket next to her bed on the ground. A few hours later, she wakes up to the boy standing awkwardly in the middle of the room with a very strange look on his face.
What?
She asks him, "What's wrong?" He looks at her and says, "I'm really hungry. Let's go get some tandoori chicken." Confused, she says, "It's 2 a.m. Just get a snack in the cupboard." And he grabs her by the arm and he says, "No, we are getting tandoori chicken right now." And he yanks her from the bed. Feeling totally caught off guard by this whole situation, she goes into the hall with the boy, and as soon as the door shuts behind them, she can tell that he is terrified. He looks at her and just says, "I'm not actually hungry. When I woke up, there was someone under your bed." This is why you should always trust your gut. In the early 1970s, a college student decided to hitchhike his way home after class. A car pulls up, a man offers him a ride, and he climbs in. As soon as the car started moving, the student felt totally uneasy, like something was wrong but he couldn't quite place it. Without saying anything, he waited till the next time they slowed down and he flung the door open and ran away. 2 years later, he's flicking through TV channels when he comes across this special interview with a death row inmate. And it's just the audio recording, so he hears the interviewer ask the inmate, "Why did you remove all the door handles inside of your car?" The man just goes, "Well, the first time I tried to kill someone, I picked up a college hitchhiker who got smart at some point and jumped out of my car. So, lesson learned, remove all the door handles." When they showed his
he knew.
picture, the student knew immediately that he was supposed to be the first victim of John Wayne Gacey, aka the killer clown, who had killed over 30 men and boys in his clown room and stuffed them into his basement. This is why you should always trust.
Sorry for pausing 2 times there, man, but I just had to explain this one, bro. That's why people say, man, when you have to trust your gut sometimes, because, bro, your gut, it'll never steer you wrong, man. He had a feeling that something was off, man. As soon as he stopped, he jumped out the damn car. And look what happened. Flicking through the channels. And what came to pass? He was right on the money, man. You gotta trust your gut sometimes, bro. You just have to. Even if everybody's saying, "Oh no, bro." If there's a gut feeling, man, and you don't trust it, then just get away from that situation. That's actually one of the most insane stories you heard, Seekers.
Your gut.
Tap in with
In the
us.
1970s, a young couple decided to go for a late night hike in the woods. A couple minutes into their walk, and the man remembers thinking something's not right. He tells his girlfriend, but they just decide to ignore it and keep going, until he steps on something that felt really soft, like it was alive. Before he has a chance to see what he stepped on, they hear all this rustling in the bushes next to them, and they bolt. Years later, that couple turns on the TV, and a death row inmate who's about to be executed is being interviewed.
Again.
And they ask him, "Was there ever a time that you were almost caught red-handed?" He responded, "Yes, one time. I was in the woods, and a couple walked through, and the man actually stepped on the body of a girl I had just killed. I was hiding in the bushes just a few feet away. They didn't see me." That couple had run into one of the worst serial killers of all time, Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
So supposedly this is what the fallen angel Lucifer looks like. And this is what the moon looked like on March 31st, 2020. I don't know about any of you guys, but this is scary, especially with everything going on in the world right now. Pretty cool!
Let this be a reminder that there really are monsters out there. In 2007, a woman living right near a prison in California got home late one night and went right to bed. Around midnight, she woke up to footsteps on her first floor, assumed it was her roommate, so she goes downstairs to say hi. She yells out to her roommate, who doesn't say anything, and then in walks this giant man who she doesn't recognize. She runs upstairs, jumps in her closet into the crawl space and hides. As she's helplessly tucked away in this little crawl space, trying not to make any sound, all she hears is this giant man sprinting around her house, running into walls, flipping furniture and screaming in frustration because he can't find her. Finally, after several hours, she slowly opens the crawl space back up, crawls out and gets her phone off the nightstand and calls police. As she's telling the police her story, she describes the person who had broken in, and they stop her and say, "Ma'am, go back in the crawl space and stay there. We'll be there as soon as we can." It turned out a 6'11" convicted murderer had escaped the prison and was still on the loose.
Damn. She was living next to prison. I could never do that. I don't see how people can do that. I understand people need houses and stuff, but living next to a prison, that's just like asking for trouble. Because like I said, they have like direct access to the house, and as soon as they escape, they just gonna try to go into one of the people's houses. Word of advice, man, don't live next to a prison. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say that, but you never know. Is that an edit? Yeah, that's an edit. Call it like I said.
If you scare easily, I wouldn't watch this video. In 2013, a mine explorer found this entrance to an abandoned mine and decided to go have a look around. He decides to film his experience and upload it to his YouTube channel, where he had uploaded hundreds of other videos of him exploring mines, but he never once references the paranormal or ghosts or anything like that until this video. As soon as he steps foot inside, he tells the camera that he has a really uneasy feeling about being there and wonders if he should even keep going. But he does. Everything seems pretty normal until he gets to a section in the mine where there's a bunch of chains hanging down from the ceiling. He hears something in the back of the tunnel, so he pulls his flashlight out and he shines it towards the back, and he sees a chain swinging, and it shouldn't be, because there's no draft and he's all alone, and you can tell he's scared by the way he starts talking. Although he's totally freaked out, he wants to know what's causing the chain to swing, so he goes farther and farther into the mine until he hears something. People whispering in every direction. He gets totally spooked and runs out. If you don't want to sleep tonight, watch the whole video. This is why you should never open your door for strangers. In 2013, a woman let her dog out to use the bathroom one more time before bed. After only a few minutes, she starts hearing scratching on her door, which is typically the sound her dog makes when he's ready to come in. But it just seemed way too soon for him to be done being outside. So she decides to look through the peephole to make sure it really is her dog. But what she sees is terrifying. A deranged-looking man is right outside her door, staring intently at her door handle, waiting for it to turn open. As she's looking in horror, unable to do anything, he starts scratching at the door as hard as he can, never leaving his gaze from the door handle. She manages to stifle a scream, she backs away and realizes her dog is still outside. So she goes to the side window, but there's no sign of her dog, and so she goes back to the door to see if maybe the man's moved. He hasn't moved, his mouth is open, and he's staring directly at the peephole. Then he turns around and walks away. With the man gone, she discovers her dog unharmed, his leash had just been cut. But that means he had a knife.
Terrifying facts about the ocean. Let's get into it. So we've explored
Damn, we didn't even get the terrifying acts of the ocean, man. We've seen a couple of them, man, but I was really excited to see what he had to say, man. These videos were like, I had to find these part 2s for y'all, man. I know y'all I see in the comments, y'all be irked like me too, man, when they don't finish off the story. I gotta do a deep dive and find these part 2s for y'all, man, but we're gonna find them. That's crazy, man. There's some crazy facts today, man. There's some crazy stories. You guys, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker. Once again, thank you guys for supporting the channel, for subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, man, hitting that like button, man. Like I said, when you guys do those simple steps, man, that pushes us in the algorithm, man, we can connect with other people, man. We're growing. I see the progress we're making with each and every video, so I'm thankful for you guys. Like I said, we're going to continue to grind. We're going to continue to get better with each and every video. I'm doing daily uploads for you guys. You guys can catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, man. Anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, man, liking each and every video. You guys don't know how much you guys are helping us by just doing those 3 simple steps. You're helping us to connect more people, find fellow seekers. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, man. Seek the truth.
Interesting facts to tell your friends, part 1.
Okay.
Up first, did you know 2 days in your life will not last 24 hours? And those days are the day you were born and the day you will die. This is absolutely insane, and just wrap your head around that for a second. Next, it is almost impossible to speak the biggest word in the English language. And it's on the screen now, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
Me either.
Next up, you only know you fell asleep when you wake up. So next time you're laying in bed trying to sleep, just know you won't know you fell asleep until you woken up. Next up, you can feel that your toes are touching, but your brain just ignores it. Do me a favor and try and feel your toes touching. I bet you can. Next, 90% of people after a discussion are left thinking of arguments of stuff they could have talked about. And I know I'm 100% guilty of this. Next, our brain generates about 50,000 thoughts a day. I guarantee you can't even write down 50,000 thoughts. Finally, the last person you think about before you fall asleep is the source of all of your pain or all of your joy. So, just remember that.
Imagine if you were the last person on Earth. Free food. Explore the unknown. Empty houses. Abandoned cities. Empty roads. Go anywhere you want.
True.
No school. Get any clothing you want. You don't have to worry about corona. Eat whatever you want.
Good eats.
Peaceful sleep. No job. Waking up to silence. Screaming and hearing nothing back.
That's actually scary though.
Empty malls. Drive as fast as you want. Explore Area 51.
Oh, I'm definitely doing that.
Checking if you're actually alone.
Which of these facts is the hardest to believe? Breathing through your mouth while sleeping increases the risk of tooth decay. People who bite their nails tend to have stronger immune systems.
Really?
Your nose is the same size as your thumb. If you see a bear, don't run. Instead, raise your arms to make yourself look bigger and scream loudly at it. There are more bacteria in your mouth than there are people in the world. If you were offered $1 million, but you have to spend the rest of your life with the second person that appears when you click share and then WhatsApp, would you take the money? Your pinky finger is actually the strongest finger on your hand. Off more.
Facts that you...
I think the one which was the one he was telling the truth is what the one with the bear how to say you're supposed to make yourself look big, because I've heard that in a couple of videos we actually watch. I learned to do these clips, man, we've been seeing. So I'm gonna go with the bear one, man. That's actually, you know, you wouldn't think something like that would work, but I've seen that through a couple of videos, man. If you just scream and shout at the bear, they'll like try to run away. So I'm definitely going with the bear fact one. Or you guys picking something else?
Probably didn't know until now. A lot of us are used to taking flights that last anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, but did you know that the shortest flight in the world only lasts 57 seconds? A Logan Air flight between Scottish Islands Westray and Papa Westray only lasts 57 seconds and travels a distance of 1.7 miles. Like, bitch, I could run that. Another fun fact is one about elephants. Did you know not only do they hear out of their ears, but they can also hear out of their feet? Typically, to hear normal distances, elephants will open their ears like that and scan back and forth to hear. But to help them hear noises that are far away, they'll freeze, lean on their front legs, and that's how they hear. And lastly, we all know and love Pringles. Who doesn't love a good Pringle? The man responsible for creating the iconic Pringles can is named Frederick Bauer, but that's not the fun fact. The fun fact is that when he passed away, it was his dying wish that his remains be put in a Pringles can. His children honored the wish. They even debated over which flavor can they should put him in, and they settled on the original.
Really? What the hell? That's a weird request. Everybody got their final request and they followed it. But to be in a Pringles can? And the original flavor? Might look at that flavor a little differently now.
This Inuit tried crafted tools out of space metal.
No way.
10,000 years ago, this meteorite landed in the Arctic in northern Greenland. An entire Inuit community sprang up around it just to make tools from the iron in the meteorite, which resulted in badass stuff like this, a spear made from a narwhal tusk tipped with space metal. They didn't even have enough wood to like make fires to actually forge the metal, so they had to cold forge it, just hammering it with giant stones until it was the right shape. The tools were so valuable, they were traded as far away as Norway.
Today I was asked, who has killed the most people in history? And what I found will leave you speechless. Now, most people probably assume that the answer is Adolf Hitler, the architect of the Holocaust. Others might guess the answer is the Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin, but both Stalin and Hitler were outdone by one man named Mao Zedong. From 1958 to 1962, his Great Leap Forward policy led to the deaths of up to 45 million people, easily making it the biggest episode of mass murder to have ever occurred. In pursuit of this utopian paradise, Mao Zedong herded villagers from all across China into giant people's communes so that everything was collectivized. People had their work, their home, their land, belongings, livelihoods, all of it taken away. In collective canteens, food distributed by spoonful according to merit became a weapon used to force people to follow the party's every dictate. Now, historians have speculated that tens of millions died from starvation alone. And it is not only the sheer number of people that were killed, but also the manner in which people died. Between 2 and 3 million victims were tortured to death or similarly killed, and often for the slightest infraction. There's one story of a boy who stole a handful of grain in a commune, and they forced his father to bury him alive. The father died of grief a few days later. Another time, a man had his ears chopped off, his legs tied with iron wire, a 10-kilogram stone repeatedly dropped on his back, and then he was branded with a sizzling tool. And all of this was punishment for digging up a potato.
Man, you would think we would hear more about that in the history books, but this is my first time ever hearing about something like that went down in that history. Really goes to show you, man, how things just get like discarded in history, man. You really have to look and find it. There's way more things that's happening in this world that we're unaware of. Whoa.
3 historical facts that will turn your perception of time upside down. Number 3. It's a surprising but very real fact. The guillotine was still being used for executions in France when the first Star Wars movie was released in theaters. In fact, the last execution by guillotine took place in 1977, the same year as the movie's release.
Whoa.
This shows how some ancient practices can persist over time, even in an era of technology and innovation. Number 2. It may seem incredible, but the Tyrannosaurus rex lived closer to our time than to the Stegosaurus. Indeed, the T-Rex roamed the Earth around 68 to 66 million years ago, while the Stegosaurus existed during the Jurassic period, which ended about 145 million years ago. This means there's a gap of nearly 80 million years between these two dinosaur species. This example illustrates the astounding timescale that characterizes the history of life on Earth. Number 1. Cleopatra, the last queen of ancient Egypt, lived closer to the time of the moon landing in 1969 than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The pyramid was built around 2560 BC, whereas Cleopatra ruled from 69 BC to 30 BC. This puts into perspective the longevity of certain ancient civilizations like that of Egypt, and shows how human progress can be both slow and fast.
Really? If you really think about it, man, yeah, it's just like, it's about the perspective of time. It's all different.
Fun fact, until 1822, we had absolutely no idea what happened to birds in the winter.
Hmm?
All we knew were there were birds in the summer and no birds in the winter. And people developed a lot of crazy theories about what would happen to the birds every fall. Some people said they would dive into lakes and hibernate under the ice. Some people thought they would burrow into the ground to hibernate, while other people said the birds would transition themselves into other animals like mice and rabbits in the winter, and then would transition themselves back into birds in the spring.
Really?
A Harvard educator named Charles Morton did propose migration in 1694, but he believed birds migrated to the moon and back. Then in 1822, a German hunter was out looking for dinner near the town of Glutz when he shot and killed a white stork. But when he picked up the bird, he found it already had a 30-inch spear in its neck. Finding this interesting, the hunter brought his kill to the nearby University of Rostock,
where scientists found the iron-tipped wood spear to be of Central African origin.
Ooh.
This proved without a doubt the stork had migrated between Europe and Africa, and led scientists down the right path to discover that birds migrate to warmer climates in the winter.
Disturbing facts you didn't
Really?
need to know. Did you know that sometimes doctors use teeth of dead people to make dentures? And talking about teeth, there's a fish in South America that has human teeth, and for some reason it looks so creepy. If you ever see this cute frog, run away as fast as possible, because it's called a golden poison frog, and it has enough poison to kill 15 humans in a few minutes.
Damn.
Now we all know a chainsaw is used to cut wood, right? But did you know it was invented to assist childbirth? And finally, there are still around 40 million slaves around the world, with India having the majority of them at 8 million, mostly kids.
What the more people need to know about that, man.
Weird facts about the world, part 1. It snows in the Sahara Desert. Coca-Cola does not exist in only 2 countries. Colombia's brightest rainbow is in a river. You're always 7 years behind Ethiopia.
Really? What the hell? So what time is it in Ethiopia now?
What happens if you put your head inside of a particle accelerator and turn it on? Kind of like this Hot Wheels loop. Particle accelerators accelerate particles to nearly the speed of light. And this guy, Anatoly Bugorsky, was unfortunate enough to stick his head inside of one while it was on, and this is what happened to him. Scientists use these giant circular machines, also known as atom smashers, to see how subatomic particles like protons behave while traveling at the speed of light, doing tests like crashing them into each other and other complex science stuff. And yes, I said at the speed of light. Well, almost. They get it up to like 99.99999% the speed of light, because 100% is still impossible at the moment, but hey, we're getting close. They do this by accelerating subatomic particles like protons in a long circular vacuum tube that's colder than space. They start off in a smaller loop where they use electric currents from really strong batteries to get the particles moving fast, and magnets to keep the particles on a stable path as they curve through the loop to be fed back into the batteries and get even faster. This feedback loop gets them fast enough until they're fed into a bigger loop to reach even higher speeds. And they inject a second set of protons here so they can play Ring Around the Rosie with each other and just keep getting faster. They're then fed into the final loop where the 2 sets of protons are accelerated in opposite directions so they could collide into each other and do science. This right here would be the Large Hadron Collider, the biggest particle accelerator in the world at 27 kilometers in circumference, where the protons travel the entire circular distance more than 11,000 times per second. So yeah, it's fast. The LHC is in Switzerland and contains 1.8 billion kilometers of wires. Enough to go the distance of not around Earth, but of Earth's entire orbit around the Sun twice. Or from the Earth to the Sun and back 6 times. Anyway, so that's cool and all, but now that we know what a particle accelerator is, let's put our head inside of one. On July 13th, 1978, a scientist named Anatoly Bugorsky was working on the U-70 synchrotron particle accelerator just outside of Moscow, which is much smaller at 1.5 kilometers. But the speeds are pretty much the same. So there was an experimentation room in this lab where the accelerated protons are exposed to open air for a brief moment. And they had bare safety measures in place to make sure that no one walks in when a live beam is going. But Bugorsky showed up to the room 5 minutes earlier than he was supposed to. Somebody forgot to lock the door, and the emergency light that signaled a live beam burnt out. Say hello to Murphy's Law. He enters the room and doesn't realize there's a beam of protons traveling through the open air in front of him because they're both silent and invisible. He bends over to have a look at a few monitors and accidentally puts his head directly into the beam of trillions of protons traveling basically the speed of light. That's 76 billion electron volts of energy passing through his skin, skull, brain, and out the other side. But the craziest part? He felt no pain at all. And there wasn't even a hole in his head. That's because protons are so small that they physically passed in between the empty space of the atoms in his own head. And the voltage didn't stop in his head, it just passed right through it, which is why he didn't die from 76 billion volts. All he reported was his entire field of vision being overcome with a light brighter than 1,000 suns, but a light that only he could see. This light was inside of his head. He kind of tripped out for a sec, but once he realized he was fine, he logged the experience and went home without telling anyone. But the next day, his head started to swell, so he went to the doctors, and they calculated the exact path the protons passed through his head in. Although he survived, in the years to come, he lost hearing in his left ear, started having episodic seizures, and the nerves on the left side of his face were destroyed, freezing his facial expression in place for the last 45 years.
Yo, what's up? These are fun.
So it was like a delayed reaction. Because at first it made it seem like I thought nothing was going to happen, but I said all that energy and protons, man, and we saw it with CERN. We've seen a couple of clips going around about CERN, so we know some crazy stuff goes down there. But the fact that safety measures were just so laxed, and somebody didn't even, because he didn't close the door earlier, it changed somebody's life forever, man. What do you guys think about CERN, though?
Facts about women that are actually pretty crazy. Part 5. Taller women are more likely to have cancer, whereas shorter women are more likely to have smaller babies. I don't think that's a fair trade, but it's not my doings. In Greece, throwing an apple at a woman was considered a marriage proposal. Now, if anyone did that in America, and they threw an apple at the woman they were trying to propose to, she would definitely walk up to him and calmly go, "Yo, why'd you throw that apple at me? That ain't cool. Now I'm gonna have to beat you, bruh." 80% of women will ask questions that they already know the answer to, and the reason being is they're not trying to interrogate us, they're just trying to see if we're listening and if we actually care about what they're saying. So just pay attention, guys. A lot of women lose 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night due to overthinking, anxiety, worry, whatever that may look like. And I'm not saying guys don't do this too, but women are linked to having less serotonin, which helps them go to sleep. So women, if you're still up, get on the Xbox, play some COD, and smack some noobs for us.
Really? You guys believe some of those facts? I think the first one might have been cat, though. Unless there's like studies about it, but I don't know. Whereas the sky, we see those edits. We experts now.
If you earned $100,000 a day since the day Christ was born till now, you still wouldn't be as rich as Jeff Bezos. We actually know how to make car doors silent when you shut them, but it freaks people out and makes them think it's still open, which means that every car door sound was engineered to sound that way. Nike's famous slogan, "Just Do It," was actually inspired by the last words of a murderer on death row.
What the hell?
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. When whales reach a certain age, they will eventually be too weak to swim back to the surface for air, so they will just suffocate to death and eventually sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Damn.
When you die, you will be aware that you are dead until the moment your brain fully ceases function. When getting laser eye surgery, you can smell the parts of your eyes being shaved down. During the French Revolution, where the guillotine was introduced, the people to be executed fought to be first, as the blade would dull after multiple uses, and wouldn't cut a head clean off at the first attempt. If you're male, after you die, your loved ones can have a doctor electrocute your prostate to force you to ejaculate for sperm. Humans have enough bite power to bite off their own finger, bone and all. The only thing stopping us is our brain's natural safety factor. A deceased human body can take between 24 to 48 hours to decompress, releasing the remaining blood, urine, and fecal matter, depending on the situation, position, and method of death. If you die on a submarine, they put your body in the fridge with all the food. If not, up a torpedo tube. It's actually common that corpses will periodically burp, fart, gasp, groan as gases escape through the mouth and anus. When you get burned by electricity, it actually leaves marks shaped like lightning on your skin. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
You learning facts out here, man, today. Tap in with us.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 16. Kangaroos are absolutely terrifying, and if you mess with one, it will likely lure you into the water and attempt to drown you.
What?
There's an abandoned Disney park that you aren't allowed to go to, and it was shut down in 1999 because it was infested with free-roaming alligators. The animals were being abused, and an 11-year-old boy died from a flesh-eating bacteria found in the park's waters. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, the lion's costume was made out of a real skinned lion. This is the John Lawson house. No one knows who lives there, but every single day, there are several female mannequins sitting on the front porch wearing a variety of clothing. Their positions and outfits change daily, and many believe this is meant to convey some sort of message. And in 1871, a train crash took place just 200 feet away from the home, killing 22 people. And these mannequins are always pointing toward the crash.
Who the hell is putting those mannequins out there and changing them? That's a very weird mystery, man, that we're going to have to dive into. Because I had to find a backstory about that one. That one is just make my mind turn. Somebody's out there just like setting up the mannequins each and every day. Why are they doing it? What's the reason behind it? It's the questions we need to be asking ourselves.
Here are some fun facts to tell at parties that'll make you seem super cool and likable. In an average lifespan, a person breathes in around 45 pounds of dust and debris. You know how they say dogs' mouths are cleaner? That's because there's more bacteria in a person's mouth than there is people in Canada and the US combined. A man can grow up to 6 feet of nose hair in their lifetime, and up to a 30-foot long beard if he never shaves. And if you ever wanted to swim in a pool of saliva, it would only take one person at the age of 60 to have produced enough saliva in his lifetime to fill up 2 pools. By the age of 60, a person will have lost 50% of their taste buds. That explains why old people like grits so much. The ear is actually really fragile, and it only takes about 7 pounds of force to rip your ear off.
Really? What the hell? I heard it is, and they keep going too as well. That's some facts that we learn watching these clips together. It always grows. But I ain't swimming in the pool of saliva. Y'all got that.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. When Apollo 11 landed, it only had 20 seconds of remaining fuel. 4 months ago, a deceased rapper by the name Gunyu had his corpse on stage while fans were partying around his body. The average person wastes 5 months of their lives waiting for red lights to turn green. Cruise ships have morgues, just in case someone, you know, during the trip. If you have red eyes after swimming, it's not from chlorine. It's from the chlorine mixing with other people's urine. The furthest part of the ocean from land is Point Nemo. If you get stuck there, you're not coming back. Sunburn are your cells dying to avoid being cancerous. Most laugh tracks and shows are people from the 50s, which means you're hearing the laughter of dead people. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 14.
Really? Now if you think about it, he is right about the laugh tracks. I don't even know if there's still some shows or movies who use it, but why won't they update them? Yeah, that's true. You want something like that in your movies or shows. They need to update those tracks.
Cara Robinson was 15 years old when a man in his late 30s abducted and assaulted her for 18 hours before she outsmarted him. A special thank you to Lifetime for partnering with me and providing the following photos for their movie, The Girl Who Escaped, the Cara Robinson Story, to help highlight 3 ways Cara survived her kidnapping. Number 1. Cara counted the number of turns her kidnapper made, which helped lead authorities straight to his home. Number 2. She memorized important information like the serial number on the plastic container he forced her into, and the names of his doctor and dentist, which were visible on his refrigerator. Number 3. She controlled her emotions, keeping him at ease and gaining his trust. Authorities say Cara's self-control is what may have saved her life because she was able to develop an escape plan, but they had no clue the man they were chasing had killed before. Visit mylifetime.com/watchripped to watch The Girl Who Escaped, the Cara Robinson Story, and all other Ripped from the Headlines movies.
I am so glad that other people are talking about OJ Simpson's book, because I have, this has been one of my many Roman empires in life, but this was OJ Simpson's book that ended up, I'm going to tell you the story in a second, but if I did it, is what this book's is actually called, Confessions of the Killer. And here's the story. So he said that this book was a hypothetical account of how he would have committed double homicide if he had done it. So in 2006, a publisher announced that they were going to publish this book by OJ Simpson. So they received a phone call from an attorney who said that OJ was ready to confess in a book, I guess. And actually, I thought it was some kind of scam, and I didn't believe him, and I thought, this guy's a lunatic. But I took his number, and I said I'd call him back. So then she did call him back, and of course they immediately bought the book, because, what a wild thing. So it sold for $3.5 million, and when it was set to publish, there was a bunch of hype around it. I absolutely remember this. And the victims' families were outraged. Absolutely. They were absolutely outraged. Because don't forget about double jeopardy. At this point, he was tried for those murders and acquitted, so he could no longer be prosecuted for those murders, even if he said in a book that he had done it. He could be prosecuted for other things, but just not those murders. So after all of the backlash, HarperCollins pulled the book. And then, in 2007, Ron Goldman's family obtained rights to the book. They were awarded a $38 million wrongful death settlement against Simpson. And as part of that settlement, they were awarded the rights to the book. So they revised the book, added in their own personal commentary, and then released the book in 2007 anyway. So if you want to buy this book, all of the royalties go to Ron Goldman's family, so I highly recommend it, and I'm probably going to, because I have always wanted to read this book and just get a glimpse into how he would have narrated these crimes as he was getting to the point of committing them. It's just so wild to me that this book freaking exists. But I never wanted to buy it because I didn't want to give OJ Simpson any money, so it's really nice to know that all of the rights go to the Ron Goldman Foundation for Justice. What do you think? Would you read the book?
Would you guys read that book, man? You guys want me to check it out? That's crazy, man. It's called If I Did It. He wrote a whole book about it, man. That's just just putting it right in freaking people's faces that you did it. But like I said, the double jeopardy show, you can't even get tried. Crazy to think about how somebody can escape justice like that. Seekers, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you guys are true seekers seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, when I drop a video, man, I just need you guys to hit that like button, subscribe, also comment down on the videos, man. It just helps us push this in the algorithm. Even just to say hi, man, just say something down below, just so I know you guys are here. Tell me, man, if you guys are also enjoying these daily uploads. Like I said, I'm keeping the schedule, but next month I might switch it up a little bit, but right now we still continue with the daily uploads. Guys gonna catch you in the next videos, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.